Good morning. Calling our meeting to order at 9 a.m. At this time, we're going to have the invocation by Lynn Haven resident and pastor of Central Pentecostal Ministries, Pastor Chad Bass, and he's also going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for allowing us to be here today. Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your grace and your mercy today. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be a part of a free country. And we thank you, Father God, for allowing us to take part in the order and the business of our city, God. And we ask you today to bless this commission, Lord. Ask you, Father God, to give them wisdom and integrity, God, to handle the business of our city, God, that they may lead these residents, Lord, into a place of hope and life. Father, today we just ask you to keep your hand on us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Bass. At this time, we'll be moving on to public commentary, agenda item number 3. Please remember to address your comments to the chair and to limit your comments to 3 minutes, adhering to the sound of the bell. Have the clock here now so that the presenters can see that. And again, this is a time for citizens and residents to express their issues or concerns regarding items that are not necessarily on the agenda. The commission will listen to all of your comments and will respond if possible during our reports. Anyone for public commentary? Ms. Walker.
Good morning. Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. At the last commission meeting, a young lady spoke during the public commentary regarding Mayor Nelson's past bankruptcies, non-payment of student loans, non-payment of credit cards, and non-payment of a jewelry store bill. Combine those actions with Commissioner Barnes' recent guilty plea in a statement of facts from the district court admitting he, Mr. Barnes, sought, agreed to accept, and receive these things of value, which were loans totaling $45,000 from individual A, with the intent that he would be influenced in the performance of official acts. In light of these two occurrences, both Mayor Nelson's bankruptcies and Commissioner Barnes' loans from a city contractor, I believe it would be prudent for the city of Lynn Haven to do background checks on all candidates running for elected office. The residents need to know, quote, as an agent of the city, a commissioner or mayor has a financial duty to act in the best interest of the city and its residents. The mayor commissioner can't be good stewards of our money, the mayor commissioner can't be good stewards of our money if they are not good stewards of their own money. And we need to know this before they are elected.
Thank you. Public commentary, Mr. Lovechuck.
Hey, good morning. Michael Lovechuck, resident here in Lynn Haven. Just want to make a comment. I was driving by 9th Street yesterday, and I had to pull over on the side of the road. I found out that y'all are using Fox blocks as construction material for our new facilities, and I cannot tell you what an incredible thing that y'all are doing. I built my State Farm office out of the same material, and when Hurricane Michael hit, I had 0 damage. This Fox blocks is absolutely unbelievable for Category 5 type winds, which is what I built my building for. My office was up and running the very next day after Hurricane Michael. So we built this structures as same thing. I'm not sure who made that decision. I saw that pulled over. I called Vicky and said, "Oh my God!" I called Pat and said, "You guys don't realize what an incredible smart move that is." Not only is it hurricane proofed, but I've got 4,000 square feet in my building. I've got 11 offices, computers running, AC running, heat running, lights running. And for 4,000 square feet, my electric bill averages $320 a month because of the insulation, because of the Fox blocks. So not only, I'm not sure I called, I said, whoever made that decision, was it you or you, Ms. Tender? I don't know. But thank you. So I sort of geeked out a little bit because I'm telling you, we get hit with another Michael like that, that facility will be up and running the next day. And if you guys, anybody here's got want to see what that looks like, come down to my office and I'll show you. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I didn't mean to be a little bit geeky there and spaz out, but that was really cool.
Thank you. Additional public commentary.
Good morning. I am here as a representative of the Central Panhandle Association of Realtors in reference to Ordinance 1117. So currently we're seeing a trend both nationally and locally of extremely low inventory and high demand for housing. The city of Lynn Haven only has about 50 active residential listings and an ever-growing increase in potential buyers who are interested in moving their families to the area. We also know that there is a specific need for more affordable homes in our area, with many home buyers seeking homes in the $250,000 to $350,000 price range. According to our local economic area report for Lynn Haven, the median household income is a conservative $63,528 per family. In evaluating current mortgage loans for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, we find that the estimated monthly payment for a $250,000 home would be around $1,200 a month, whereas the estimated monthly payment for a $500,000 home would be $2,500 a month. It is an irrefutable point to make that there is a need for more affordable housing that would be attainable for your average home buyer whose income falls within the median household income range. In considering this amendment, we know that each contractor has a specific budget for the property purchase that will allow him to build a home within a certain price bracket that the market supports. New homes in historic Lynn Haven typically sell between $250,000 to $350,000. Purchasing a large lot at a higher price point would require the developer to build a house that would cost around $500,000. This value will not be supported by the local real estate market. Subsequently, larger vacant residential lots will be more difficult to sell and will continue to stay vacant for many more years. Should this amendment pass, the city would be losing over 90 buildable lots. This is a potential for over 180 homes and families that could be added to the Lynn Haven community. Beyond the obvious potential negative impacts of this amendment for homebuyers, we must also consider the local economy and how it would be affected as well. With the potential additional homeowners and families in the area, these residents would be supporting the local economy with their tax dollars and purchases at local stores and restaurants. These residents would also be potential employees for the local area. After COVID, we've all seen businesses suffer from the lack of employees, and we know that Lynn Haven is not exempt from this. By creating affordable housing for the area, we're able to provide further incentives for living and working in Lynn Haven. The Central Panhandle Association of Realtors asks that the Lynn Haven City Commission consider all of the above stated information before voting on the ULDC amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary.
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. Perhaps the young lady doesn't live in Lynn Haven, this young lady from CPAR, or in the historic district, and she missed out on the flooding that we've experienced this past year, and maybe she doesn't care about the history of that area. So that's all I have to say about that. But in the meantime, good morning. Welcome back, Mayor Nelson. We missed you last Friday. I had assumed that you had gone to the Florida League of Cities. It wasn't announced where you had gone. I hope it wasn't an emergency of any kind. If you did go to the League of Cities, maybe you'll have a report. Because if you did go, you would have joined leaders from all over the state of Florida. I believe it was 411 cities is what I heard. I do want to address something that happened at the last commission meeting. I feel like I have to address this now, but since your comments come later, maybe you won't even address this, but if you do, I have to say it now, since I wouldn't have another chance until December. After the last commission meeting, after public commentary, you addressed comments that were made. Then, as others talked, you were observed taking notes off your phone. Then you spoke again later on, after everybody spoke, about things you had forgotten to say. You addressed the photo of you with Arthur Cullen, among some other things. I and others have publicly questioned the use of your phone. Were you checking your calendar, or were you writing down what someone had texted you? I really don't know. I put notes on my phone all the time, and so it's quite possible that's what you were doing. If that's it, if someone had texted you, repeating what someone else told you to say is not leadership. I saw your response to Ryan Scray's public records request, and it wasn't properly addressed, in my opinion. You wrote down a whole lot more than just one little couple of, a sentence and a few words. Maybe everything was perfectly innocent, but when you aren't transparent, there will be questions, and people will be suspicious and not trusting. After the events of the past few years, which did not involve this current commission, here in Lynn Haven, people are justified in not trusting their city leaders. I don't want it to be this way. I don't know what really happened, and maybe it was perfectly innocent, but perception is very important.
Thank you. Additional commentary?
Ryan Scray, Missouri Avenue. Thank you for completing the public records request that Jody had mentioned. I shared that out publicly as I told people I would. At this time, I'm satisfied with the results of that. Other people may not be, but I've shown now how easy it is to complete a public records request, so if people have questions, they can do so. That's not why I wanted to come up and talk, though. This last weekend, I had the opportunity to get out of town for a little bit with my daughter, and we went up to Dothan to the National Peanut Festival. As carnivals go, obviously that's a pretty epic carnival, a lot of rides, games, food booths, everything. The number of people there, though, it amazed me how many people, Dothan, I believe you're from or near Dothan, Mayor. It's a pretty small area. A lot of people go there. Pretty impressive. I'm wondering long range if there's something we can get here in Lynn Haven, some kind of multi-day festival. Smaller scale, obviously, because we don't have as much room, but something that can attract people, that people want to come from states away to Lynn Haven for some kind of multi-day music festival, community festival, something of that nature. I'm sure the businesses in the area of Dothan love the National Peanut Festival, the number of people that are there going to it, the money it brings in. That might be a good way for us to economically develop Lynn Haven. Off of the proceeds that come in from those kinds of events. As far as where to do that, I've looked at the Bay County GIS a lot recently. There's not a lot of land, everybody knows that. I don't know in the long range if something like the sports park would be possible, or even Kinsall, or even if there's some undeveloped land that maybe a developer has no plans to use for the next 30 years, if we can get some kind of arrangement in place to partially develop that, clear it out, maybe use it as open field space, whatever it takes to do some kind of mini event like that, to bring people in. Everything's at the beach. I don't know about everybody else, but I hate going across the bridge to events at the beach, because if there's a lot of people, a lot of traffic, it takes you like an hour to get there, an hour to get back, and then maybe you spend 2-3 hours there, and all of a sudden half your day is gone just to go spend your money at the beach. I want to spend my money here. The city I chose over a year ago to move to, I did a lot of research. I picked Lynn Haven because it is one of the safest places. It has great schools. I got here before all the indictment stuff with the former mayor. Obviously, I had heard about the previous ones. I didn't know it was such a large scale, but Lynn Haven is still a baby chick, in my opinion, that can grow up into an amazing show hen or rooster, whatever you pick. But that's what I want for Lynn Haven.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Good morning, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Making it quick, we've been at 117 for 2.5 months. It looks like we're going to continue on it. However, I want to enact that the ordinance that put it in effect was immediate. We seem to be kicking this thing down the alley too many times. I just don't think you have the capability of making a decision and making a right one. Thank you.
Thank Thank you.
Good morning, Commission. Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe. You know, the last time I was here, I talked about your campaign contributions and your expenditures. You know, you loaned yourself $900. If you were using a debit card, you should have loaned yourself that money because you paid yourself back over $2,000 and your wife over $1,700. It should have been in your campaign contributions as a loan. If you were using a debit card, you should use your campaign debit card. There's a big binder they give you to say, this is how you do it, this is how you report it, these are the dates when you report it. So I'm still quite troubled. And then, of course, you know, your expenditures, even when you add up your contributions and your in-kind, it doesn't add up to your expenditures. I pulled that report too. The other thing is, as far as this photo goes, here's what I believe. This was before the stormwater assessment. I believe that y'all were having some lunches and talking about the numbers and what it means, because this photo was taken about that time. Now, that's fine, but just go ahead and say you're having these conversations, and instead of talking about all the schools you're visiting, this should be a business meeting. If you're having meetings and getting good counsel at those meetings, then just say so. That's what this meeting is. It's a business meeting. It's a business meeting about infrastructure and how the city works. That's all I got. I'm going to put these photos over to the side.
Thank you. Additional public commentary?
Good evening, Reverend Commission. First of all, Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. Pat, I saw you on TV dancing at the senior Halloween contest or dance. You did good. Okay, just want to comment. I got a list of things. I got 3 minutes. Okay. I was doing my normal walk this morning, and I was down at the city park, which is Porter Park, and I saw them putting up the Christmas trees, which I think is great. You guys are moving forward with that. Along the same lines, I wish you'd do something about that old sidewalk. I saw somebody trip on one of the elevated parts. I have mentioned to you guys before, but nothing seems to be done. But I do want to mention, for the audience that doesn't know, FEMA did give us $1.3 million to improve the old park. Now, I know a lot of that money cannot be used, but we use it for other things. I'm sure you could divert it from something else to fix. It's not the whole sidewalk. It's about 3 sections, but you know about it. And I saw somebody trip over it yesterday. I thought maybe you guys just don't care or whatever. Okay, another thing, you got the 10 Commandments, what we can do and say at audience participation, and one of them says we cannot yield our time to any other speaker. I have a question. Maybe you can ask her $500 an hour attorney that we operate by Robert's Rules of Order, and Robert's Rules of Order say we can give extra time to somebody else. If so, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Okay? And along the same lines too, the right to have response. Mayor, you said during your campaign at the discussions we had at the Roberts Hall, you said you were in favor of open discussion, which I assume was a response back and forth, and usually that's here at audience participation. You indicated, you're the one that I understand rules that the rest of the commission cannot speak unless you give the word. I guess you're the kingpin. You got like that's duly okay. You're entitled to that, and that is the law, I guess, according as you see it. It's been the law for many years, but most other commissions have allowed us to get a response. You're seeing audience participation shrink unless you have an issue. You have an issue today, especially that land thing, and 117, I think I call it, and so you're going to have that. But I think you yourself exchange, and then you get up at the commission meeting and you're continuing what the last commission, some of you knew, some of the older part of it, said, okay, let's enact a law to limit to what the people can speak. This country was formed on the...
That's your time. Thank you. Additional public commentary? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Neil Jones. I reside at 2301 North Harbor Drive for 31 years. I am part of a development firm that has been working on a new Sherwin-Williams on Ohio Avenue for the past 6 months. We've invested engineering, surveying. We have applied for a development order, and we've signed a lease with Sherwin-Williams. We are way down the road and prepared to start this as soon as our permit's granted. Ordinance 1121 changes the stormwater requirements, and since our development order has not been approved by you yet, we would just ask that this be considered, that we will be able to continue our development under the current standards. Thank you.
But it's been submitted.
Yes, sir.
We got an answer on that Friday at the pre-commission meeting.
And
it's good.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Simmons. I live at 408 East 5th Street. And I just want to publicly say I appreciate what everybody's doing, trying to help our city. I know everybody makes mistakes and does things a little bit different than what I would do in some situations probably, but I want to say as a whole, Mayor, our city manager, our commissioners, I want to thank you for what you're doing in this city. I think we're going to make a big run for the money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional public commentary? If not, this time we'll move on to the mayor's report. And let it be noted that my notes for my mayor's report are on my cell phone. So that's where I keep my notes. Over the past couple of weeks, had an opportunity to have some good community engagement. Had a chance to go to the senior night out at the Arnold High School football field for Mosley High, their senior night game, and it was a time for them to honor Avery Sanders and his family. And it was a great game. They lost in overtime, and so that was sad for all the players and for the families, but still it was a good game. And they were able to honor Avery throughout the game with having the play clock, the scoreboard, and the field markers on the hashes there with the number 44. So that was a great tribute to him and to his family, and even the band played Amazing Grace during the senior night time. So that was really touching for the family. Also had a chance to go and hear Kelly and the Healers at the fall concert series. Although it rained, we still, I think, had a good crowd for the rain that was there. And I believe Commissioner Perno has like perfect attendance at the fall concert series. So I don't know if he goes for the food or for the entertainment, but
Me and my poodle.
and so thank you all that have been able to come out and support the fall concert series, because the city does this for you. And so thank you for coming out and showing your appreciation. The trunk or treat was amazing. It was amazing. We really didn't think that it would kick off till about 5:30 or 6, but people were here like 4 o'clock. So it was an amazing event. Thank you to the city manager and all of your staff that put in the extra hours that were needed to pull off such a wonderful event for our entire community, not just Lynn Haven, but throughout Bay County. Also, thank you to our community partners that also collaborated with us in having a great event. The costume contest was really fun. Even had costumes for families, costumes for the children, even costumes for pets. And so I had a chance to pass out some ribbons there for the costume contest. So that was really fun. So it was just a great night of fun, and even I took a picture of for blackmail for Commissioner Ward there. So for his next campaign, I'm going to show people what he does for Trunk or Treat. But so glad that everybody was in the spirit of it all, and so it was a great event, and just lots of fun. Also had a chance to record some Minute with the Mayor segments. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Music by the Bay, but we are rescheduling the movie night, and that'll be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at Sheridan Sheffield Park. Raya and the Last Dragon, so please come out for that if you're looking for something to do on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Bring your family out. There'll be some fire pits out there that'll be monitored by our fire department. So there'll be free s'mores and popcorn, and then there'll also be some food trucks out there as well. I was also honored to receive an original oil painting with a "Welcome to Lynn Haven" sign on it from Barbara Dyer. I believe she's 93 years old and still painting. And so she's a Lynn Haven resident and the mother of our HR director, Jennifer Hodges. So that was actually the first piece of wall furniture I have now there in my office. So very happy to receive that. Also just happy about our stormwater updates, and we'll be getting some of those from Mr. Chris Lightfoot later on. So just glad to see that we're making progress in the areas that we can with stormwater. Also had a good town hall with the mayor. So thank you to the group that was able to come, as well as those who participated in the live stream. And thank you, Ryan, for fielding those questions. And so I think that was good. And when we regard public commentary or public dialogue or open discussion, I'm more referring to those intimate type of settings which we've had, morning with the mayor, town hall with the mayor, because that does give us an opportunity to discuss and to dialogue. Sometimes I think in environments like this, it can be sort of antagonistic, and so and people can become embittered in their comments as well as their responses. So this may not always be the proper setting for open dialogue, but I'm always available for conversation before meetings, after meetings, telephone call, email. I even like hot chocolate, and now I like sweet tea at Wild Root. So we can meet there if you want to treat me to hot chocolate or sweet tea. We can do that as well. Of course, there's still some, questions and scrutiny even after my public records request regarding what was I doing on my cell phone. If you want to call, I don't know who we use, AT&T or somebody like that, or the Ethics Commission, you'll see that I have no text messages on that day, period. But you'll also see that I was checking the calendar to make sure that I was announcing the right time for my town hall with the mayor, is what you will see. And those are really the only notes I was taking. In regards to me making my response, I took those notes earlier and just forgot to respond to those. And so that's all it is. I think it's strange, though, that I'm not the only person that sits here on the dais that looks at my cell phone from time to time, but the only one to receive a public records request. So I don't know what the undue scrutiny is with that. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't let it bother me too much, but it's just strange that the mayor gets a lot more scrutiny for the same things that he does that other people do. So that's just different. Also, in regards to bankruptcy, I would encourage you all, as you're checking my background in regards to bankruptcy, do know that you can't bankrupt student loans. They won't let you. So please don't, purport that. That's false information. They don't let you bankrupt student loans. If you check my credit report, my student loans are still there and I'm still paying on those. So you can't bankrupt student loans. And also, just to provide clarity for those who've ever come to ask me, I have provided clarity. I think even when Jody Moore asked me about the bankruptcy, I provided clarity on that. I don't think she was satisfied with the answer, but I provided clarity. What happened with the bankruptcy, right? So that's a big question. So here's what happened with the bankruptcy. I moved to this area in 2014. This area is twice as much as Dothan, Alabama is. My house in Dothan was not as much as it costs to live here. I didn't purchase a home here, as it was falsely reported also. I actually rented a home here, and the rent was still twice as much in living here. And so not being able to sell my home in Dothan after it being on the market for over a year, I was actually upside down for $20,000 because I bought my home in 2007. The market burst in 2008. And so I was $20,000 in the hole. The bank told me if you come to closing, you need to bring $25,000, $30,000 to closing. And even if you short sale, we still need $25,000, $30,000 for closing. And so after talking with my attorney suggested that in filing bankruptcy, that it will protect me from any type of liens or judgments or lawsuits from the bank as it relates to owing that $20,000 to $30,000. And so that's what the bankruptcy is about. It's not to bankrupt student loans, because you can't do that. Not to bankrupt credit cards, because those are my wife's, not mine. So please get the information straight as you share that with others. But it probably would be good to get a background check of other individuals as we move forward with candidates, and then maybe you all wouldn't harass Chief Ramey so much about his post if we were to do that. So it'll provide clarity on other things as well. So, but thank you all. Thank you to all the citizens of Lynn Haven for your support. Thank you to all of our staff, our city manager, and all the work that you do for our city that is unseen. We really appreciate it, and I thank you all so much for that. I'm proud to work alongside of you, proud to work alongside of our city manager, who works endlessly and tirelessly along with her staff to make sure that we live in a better place. So that's my report. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Always enjoy coming right after you. You don't leave me much to talk about, buddy. No, just a little levity there. I agree with what the mayor said. I want to thank our staff, our city staff and employees for the Halloween trunk or treat. Thing was off the chain. I mean, I was blown away by the participation, and I think everybody that I've spoken to since the event was blown away. But they were also blown away at how well organized everything came out, even with us not expecting it to be that way. There was no out of control crowds. There was no out of control activities that took place. It was a nice, safe, fun night for everybody. And again, I just want to thank everybody that participated in that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything, Mayor. I just want to tell everybody, since we only have one meeting this month, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your family. Try to have some time off in this crazy world we're living in and eat some turkey and lay around. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for both your reports, and thank you to all the city employees as well. Did not get to attend trunk or treat. My anniversary is on Halloween, and since I work on Sundays because of football season, so my wife and I were going out to dinner Saturday night. But I did offer my yard as a parking lot for people, so that, because I lived 3 blocks up the road, and people were filling up the sides of the street. And I knew it was going to be a heck of an event, and I could even hear the crowd noise from my backyard 3 blocks away. It was like I heard people breathing. It was like, wow. So I knew there was there. And what was the estimation on the crowd? I heard it was like 3,000, 3,500, something like that.
Excuse me. It was more to 7 to 8,000 people.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's quite an event. I did want to thank our city employees, our first responders. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and thank our veterans for this Thursday is Veterans Day. Thank you all. I did have a meeting with Darrell Boudreaux with the Northwest Florida Water Management District, Bobby Baker, Greg Kidwell, and Chris Lightfoot. And with the city manager's blessing, we met at the city office. And when Darrell comes to town, his affiliation with me is through the Sons Work Group and the St. Andrews Bay Estuary Program. So we met over there at the city office and started talking about opportunities for grants and whatnot that we've already applied for and whatnot. And then Bobby and Chris showed him a couple of areas here in the city where we could potentially create regional retention ponds. And I talked at the pre-commission meeting about it, and I just don't want to let that go, and hope that we can try to develop one of those areas. And Bobby, on an estimation, if we got both of those, you said it could solve almost 30 to 50% of the stormwater issues in certain areas, correct? Correct. That would be a great thing. So something to work for. And I hope one or both of those can come to fruition one day. I did attend the Early Act with Lynn Haven Elementary. I've been to 2 meetings with them. My last meeting, I actually got to run the halls with the kids and collect food for their Thanksgiving drive, and then bring it to the parent room. And that was a little more than you can. There was some very active children even after a full day of school there. But it was great, and the Rotary Club of Lynn Haven presented the Early Act with a banner. And I'd like to thank the Rotary Club of Lynn Haven for participating in the costume contest and pulling it off for everybody. So, and then I did a little donation here at the Senior Center for their Halloween party, and then they invited me. I dropped off my pot with their witch's brew, and then I came back to get my pot, and right where you stand, Miss Tender, they had me burning a hole in the floor dancing over there. So I didn't move very much. I just kind of spun around in one spot, but it was great to do. This is a good time of year as we reflect on the holidays. How fortunate we can be. And we've got yards to go in certain areas, but I honestly believe we intelligently faced the 1117 ordinance and made the changes and the compromises and made it a better ordinance for everybody. If CPAR, if you want to take a look at what we did, it does bring things up. And I talked to many contractors, and we never let anybody who had something in the works, not go ahead with their project. And the several contractors I've talked to said they're okay with it, and they're going to continue to build in the historic district. There's many more opportunities. So and then most of the residents are like Mr. Walker and I spoke after the pre-commission meeting, and it should have happened. It should have happened quicker, but there's a reason why it even started in the first place, and we're just going to get it back to where it is. We have a historic district that we want to protect. That's how I think that's how we feel. That's how I feel. So we're going to go ahead and vote on that today. But we did make the changes to try to make it an even playing field for everybody. So with that, I'll end my report and thank everybody. And I look forward to movie night. Anytime there's food trucks in the park, I'm there.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. Commissioner Ward.
So, yes, I did attend Trunk or Treat. As the mayor said, I attended as Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It was a classic. So I absolutely enjoyed it. And there was a lot of people there. I was surprised. I've never been to it before. And I asked people around, is this how many people normally come to this? They're like, no, there's a lot more people. But it brings me another point is the church next door. I know they're very accommodating with the parking and that. And I don't know if we've done anything in the past or anything to kind of thank them. But it's really great that they allow us to use that. For the month of November, December, I'm not going to do the time with the commissioner. I figure it's around the holidays. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then I'll start them back up in January. I had the opportunity to visit 3 more of our industrial manufacturing businesses. I visited Natural Light, really unique business. They assemble lamps, and they get them from not only from all over the United States, but from other countries like Chile and the Philippines and that. And they even get some that are made by hand. And so they go and they paint them to the colors or specifications of their customers. And talking with the gentleman, don't be surprised you've been in a hotel where this stuff has been at or seen them on movies. They do quite a bit of business there, and it was really, really neat. Train was the other one. That was pretty neat. Got to talk with them for quite a while. And Maximus building, which used to be Sally Mae, man, that's a huge building. I was amazed at how many people they employ there. Really neat. Commissioner Tinder's name came up a couple times. I guess there's some people that used to work Sally Mae that still work there that knew you when you worked there. And it was just really neat to see all that. And it's awesome to see all those opportunities for people, because those businesses are very, very important to Lynn Haven as far as revenue and that. So we need to make sure we keep that good relationship with them. One other thing I wanted to bring up, I know, Ms. Walker, you brought up about the background checks on for people running for office. And I know at the last meeting we talked about community involvement, and I kind of specified more. I wanted people more with government. So I'm really happy to see all these people here. I wish we could see this many people at every single meeting. I really enjoy having people come here and listen to their feedback and talking with them. But I would really like to see more people go to the charter committee. I think that's a key area that would be discussed at, and that might be a good idea, you know. When I ran for office and never ran a background check on me, not that you'll find anything, but made me think, you know. I would think eventually it would come out, you know, if you were a felon or something like that. But I think that would be a good discussion at the charter committee. And I think that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, I know at this past Trunk or Treat event, the church was actually one of our community partners. And so I know previously we've used their parking lot and we've said thank you, but this event, they were one of our community partners, which enabled us to use that property as well. So, but certainly we need to show them some thanks and appreciation as well. Commissioner Tender.
Thank you, Mayor. Assessment, I've been getting phone calls about the assessment, and I'm answering their questions, and unfortunately, they're from folks that didn't realize it was happening. So far, all I can do is tell them the truth, and so that's what I've done. There's a few things that I have to bring up today because I think they're of great interest, and some of them are from before this commission, and I don't think the guys, you know, have all the updates on it. One thing I saw, I did request this week a accounting of our attorney fees and the calls and all of that type of thing. We have a lot of interest for the fuel depot, and that was a huge issue a few years ago, and it didn't go through. And I just, from looking at this report, I see that we're doing a lot with the fuel depot. Seems to be a lot of conference calls and things of that nature, and I really am begging the powers that be to keep the commission informed. I know I have emailed the city manager before and said, are you hearing from them? And things of this nature. This is a huge, it's really a huge impact on us. So I think we have to stay in tune and keep up with all of that. I also requested a list of employee salaries for Lynn Haven, and I'm looking around. I don't see the person. He's probably here somewhere. I would highly, highly recommend that we do whatever we have to do with our budget to get our firemen paid the amount of money that they are certainly worth. I was devastated and I was shocked that if I need an ambulance or my house catches on fire, some of our firemen make $11 an hour. Some of them make $12 an hour. I personally don't think that anybody who works for the city of Lynn Haven should make less than $15 an hour. I pay people who make sandwiches more than that. And gosh, I want to know that these guys are excited about their job, you know. I was shocked at that. And it's not just firemen. I think we have 10%, almost 10% of our employees make less than $15 an hour in other departments as well. So I'd really like for us to consider that and look into that. Rails to trails, just going to be real brief about this. This was also something from the last administration. A few years ago, I'm going to be careful how I say this, but a few years ago, we started on the engineering for Rails to Trails. And it was just a lot of talk and whatnot. Mr. Forehand did get a grant. And by the way, I'm not saying anything I don't know for a fact. Him and I had this conversation face to face. So I know word for word what he said. He applied for a grant for over $400,000 for the engineering on Rails to Trails. He received that grant, and here's how he explained it works to me. He got the $435,000, he gives it to the city of Lynn Haven, and then he starts to draw on that money that he acquired for the city. Now, I can assure you that Mr. Forehand has been paid that $435,000 a couple of years ago, because I had all the invoices to that, and they pay in increments. So the only reason I bring it up is because I saw a note in there where Ben Jenke had been talking about engineering and Rails to Trails. I hope we get that done. I don't know how long it's going to take. I can't even fathom how we're going across 231 or going across 390 and all that business. I don't know where it's at. I'd like to hear a report on that sometime in the near future. But that's just, And then the only other question I had, and Mayor, I know you feel like you're being picked on, but in the billing for the attorney, there was a conference call between you and SMP Holdings, which is McIntosh Myers Residential Construction. They're very well-respected home builders in town. And so I was very curious to what the city would be talking to these folks about as far as homes. And the last thing, and I'm not doing this or saying this or anything about it because of what the attorney announced before the meeting, but I'd also like this commission to consider hiring an in-house attorney. An in-house attorney to where the city manager has access to them in her office right there in the same building. We could save half the money that we're paying now. The bill for last month from our attorney was $20,000, $271. And when we hired this firm not too long ago, it was a $500 retainer fee and $500 per meeting. And now we're up over $20,000. I'd like us to consider it. From a financial standpoint, it makes more sense. If we can save $100,000, we can certainly pay our firemen $15 an hour. So, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you for your report, Commissioner Tender. And I do agree with you as we look at employee salaries. We probably should have had that conversation during the budgeting process. That would have been a great time for us to discuss that. But budget is coming up once a year, so it'll be a good time for us to discuss at the end. And I think part of it, just from talking with the city managers, being under the scrutiny of us as a commission and as a community, asking her to tighten the belt on the budget. And then even the scrutiny of employee salary increases over the years, which was really more benefits than actual salary increases. So I think that's been part of it as to why our salaries are where they are, is due to what the public is asking us to do, which is to make sure we keep a tight budget with that. So thank you. City Attorney, City Manager, your report.
Thank you. A couple of things for my report, and then I'll get to a couple of things from public commentary as well. Just want to give you an update on the construction. It is going well. Mr. Lovechuck did talk about the blocks and thank the commission that when Florida Architect came to us about putting the blocks being able to withstand 160 miles per hour, this is a building that will be built to last a very long time. So that's a really good thing. We're still on slate. I just met with them last week, and so we're still slate to open, finish in December 2022. They made up a lot of time, of course, with FEMA holding up the progress, but they still seem to think that we will make that deadline. The construction of the solar tree that the commission approved, that is scheduled to start in December, but I have asked them to hold off because, as you know, we have several events that are going to take place within these next holiday months, and I don't want it to interfere with anything there, but that will probably start probably the first of the year. There may be some some preliminary work done in December, but the construction hopefully will start in January. We saw some, I think it was a drone photo of the North Bay Haven striping that Bobby and his guys did. It has really helped in that area with that traffic. And again, just want to say thank you to everyone that's made that possible. We did have a meeting last week with the sports complex, both the architect firm and the contractors. That will be kicking off very, very soon. That'll be a huge construction area, and we're going to ask people, if they will, to just make sure that you stay out of that area once we start to get things going there. Again, that project is scheduled to finish next year, as well as the ball fields. An update on the insurance. As many of you know, we've been in negotiations with the insurance. The commission decided to get additional attorney to handle this. They've done a really good job. It's in the final stages where an umpire decides on, do we go policy limit, or do we come somewhere in between? There's about $8.9 million that's out there that this umpire, he's like a judge, will decide. And so we're waiting anxiously for that, and I think hopefully that things will work out really well for us. The trunk or treat was a really great event. It is a lot of work with the staff that we have, but we enjoy the work because we want to give our residents the very, very best. And so I thank everyone for putting their best foot forward and serving our residents. People from Bay, Washington, Gulf counties came out. We talked to them. That's one of the reasons we know. So thank you for all the staff and all the hard work we did to make that happen. The next table talk will be November the 18th instead of the last meeting last Thursday in the month, which is Thanksgiving. And so I invite you to come out to that. Before it will be our charter review committee. I think that begins at 3:30. The Christmas tree lighting will be November 30th. That is in conjunction with WJHG. We've done this for the past couple of years, and so you will see trucks out putting our trees up, putting our Christmas decorations up, getting ready for not only the Christmas tree lighting on the 30th, we turn back around on Saturday and have the parade, which will begin at 9 o'clock, and it will be Saturday the 4th, December the 4th. We have lots of excitement going on about our parade. I do want to thank First Baptist for joining in with us on that trunk or treat. They were truly a big help, and we partner on a lot of things, but I definitely agree we need to do some additional things because they are so very, very good to us. Veterans Day, we will be closed to celebrate our veterans and honor them, and we will also be meeting with the commander of the base tomorrow on some reuse, about some reuse information. A couple of things I just want to follow up on and make sure we get a clear picture of everything. The sidewalks, I think we have discussed this before. And Chris is probably going to talk about it a little bit more when he gets up and does his stormwater report. There are sidewalks that are FEMA, and then there are sidewalks that actually hours before the storm. And we did finally get a bid, someone to come in and pour, which was much cheaper to pour some of those sidewalks. You have to dig those up, pour them, and then, of course, let it dry. So we are working fiercely on that. In terms of Marina Island, Commissioner Tender, we are surely not working on anything but what they owe to us right now, which is to turn that deed over. And that's, before anything else happens, that has to happen, because that's part of that agreement. And so that's our major goal right now before we move forward with anything, because that was promised to us in this agreement, and that should happen. So you'll see a lot of information, a lot of things on the attorney's requisition, his invoice of those things. And it's simply because there's a lot going on in the city. Normally, a $20,000 bill, it usually runs anywhere from 12 to 14, but there's a lot going on in the city in terms of lots of action and agreements and moving forward. Some of that is FEMA. Anytime they do anything with FEMA, we can turn those hours over to FEMA to be reimbursed. So just so you know that. In terms of the firefighters and some of the other employees, the HR director and I have been working on this for a long time. We have looked at salaries. We are doing those one by one. We're looking at salaries, bringing them to an area where they can be comfortable in their living. And we've done a lot, believe it or not. I know it doesn't look like it, but we have done a lot, and we're still working to bring them there. And the firefighters are a little bit different. They do come in at $11 and something, but after they get their EMT certification, they move to a higher level. But also remember that firefighters actually get paid, I think it's 96 hours every 2 weeks instead of the regular 80 hours. So some of that kind of balances out. But yes, one of the things that Chief DeLonge and I talked about was the fact that we still need to look at their salaries and bring them up to par there, because we are competing with cities around us, and I think it's very important that we be competitive. And I totally agree with Commissioner Tender that everyone at the city salaries need to be to where it is at some point $15, and you'll see a lot of those we have raised, and we will continue to do that. And that is also the same way with some police officers who work different hours as well. So I wanted to make sure that the commission and residents know that as well. Again, the Rails to Trails, there's some work being done there. That grant, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was, because I think I'd just come in when that grant was given. It was a $368,000 grant for Rails to Trails, and all of the engineering has been done. We have been given the approval to move forward with the construction. We're just waiting to close that portion of it where the deed is turned over to us from Marina Island. So that is where we are with that. That's my report. And I'm going to ask now that, first of all, we do the Employee of the Month. The Employee of the Month is Leah Reap. And I will tell you, there could not be a better person to receive this. Joe, if you and Leah will come up, please.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for letting us support our employees. They're outstanding, and I do appreciate the opportunity to recognize them. Lee is one of my outstanding employees. Not only does she keep our parks and facilities clean, she also took the time when we had COVID over at a service center, and she volunteered to go to that department and help out. When we're down around 70% of our staff, and somebody like this steps up, volunteers, helps the city, it needs to be recognized. Thank you all, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Shame on you.
I hope that's not a sign.
Good thing you did it in November. We're going out of season.
Thank you, Leah. And then I just wanted to clarify one thing. The firefighters do get paid. Their hours are 103 every 2 weeks, or 114 or 120 hours. That was from Chief DeLange. So their hours are much higher than the 80 hours a week. Just so we can clarify that as well. Next, we'll have the warrantless update. If there is any questions for the warrantless update.
Good.
Thank you. Okay. And then lastly, Chris is going to give us an update on the stormwater.
So before we get started on the stormwater, let's want to touch on the concrete real quick. Currently, we have over 400 known locations and work orders for concrete sidewalks and driveways throughout the city that we are trying to get done. We poured 2 driveways last Friday. We ordered concrete about 1 o'clock Friday afternoon, and the earliest that we can get it is the 16th. So we'll have another 8 pours on the 16th, but just kind of goes to show how hard it is to get concrete these days. And also on that, when the concrete truck gets on site, wherever it's at, you've got 60 minutes to unload it and be done. Every minute, not hour, but every minute over that 60 minutes, you're paying a charge. So it's, whenever we do concrete, we try to make sure we get the most we can out of the truck. We don't want to pay the minimum fees, for not getting a full truck. Don't want to pay the overages on getting it. So we are working towards the concrete work orders that we have, but it will be a slow going process for a while. As Ms. Vicky said, we have a bid opening coming up to get us a contractor in here to help with those. And some of the FEMA sidewalks, we've got one more round of those. We had actually issued a task order as soon as the budget year hit, October 1st, it was a Friday. The contractor is so backed up, we have not even gotten that task order back yet to get them started. So concrete right now is just part of the economy, the way it's booming, so it's hard to get done, but we are working towards it. So on the stormwater update here, just have a few things this month. The Havenwood project that the commission approved is moving right along. The owner's contractor has got everything cleared. They should start digging hopefully next week if everything goes to plan. Mayor, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of residents over there that there's a lot of happy folks in seeing that, so they are very thankful for you working on that and getting that going. We submitted our legislative paperwork with the work plan to apply for funding to do a lot of dredging on the outfalls. We've got 53 outfalls that we're going to dredge as part of this project. It will be a huge benefit on getting some of the stormwater out of the city. We've got a lot of outfalls that are silted up, that some of the pipes are half full of silt and debris that have never been dredged. So this is going to be a big help in making us some room here and helping move the stormwater out of the city. DOT completed the crossing at Georgia Avenue. They've got all of the pipe completed there. And as of yesterday evening, about 4:30, they had 3 sections of box culvert left to put in at 17th Street. So we're making some big progress there on the DOT crossings. Of course, now the rainy season will be over, but we'll be ready for next year when it happens again. We gave an update on our NPDES permit to the Planning Commission on November 2nd. We are required annually to give an update on the stormwater map and all of our information. So Phil Mount gave it at the Planning Commission back on the 2nd and met that requirement for us and got everybody up to date on what goes on there. We began the drawdown of Davis Lake on the 1st of November. I don't know if you've been by there, but you can definitely see where that lake is receding there and getting down. A lot of homeowners have already started cleaning up around their docks or their seawalls. and we'll be continuing to move forward with that. FWC is going to come in and spray it, so that will all be done, and it will be drawn down until February. We got the Cameron's Crossing cleanup and excavation there of the ditch in between Andrews Plantation and Cameron's Crossing. That is completed. They grassed it, the berm, Friday, I believe, and so the grass should start growing on that, and you can tell a huge difference. I think it was Thursday we got some rain, and you could tell a huge difference from the drainage that run off the back of Andrews going to Cameron's Crossing. It is now making its way north to the ditch there and crossing under 390. And a lot of the yards are draining. Have heard a lot of positive feedback from residents there, and so far we can tell a difference. The 19th in Montana, Dewberry completed the survey, met with them a week and a half ago to get the design started. We should see some 30% plans here in the next few weeks, and we'll continue moving forward with that project to get that culvert replaced. Our ditch digging contractor is anticipated to begin this week. Just like some of our work orders, locates have been a big issue from AT&T and WOW, any of the communication providers. They're about 2 weeks behind on locates, so as soon as he gets his locates back from the communication companies, he will begin work on that. And we just have had numerous in-house repairs for leaks and our inlets and culverts. A lot of the wet weather will show a lot more leaks, so we are continuously working on those daily with our in-house staff and moving forward to get those fixed.
I remember one time you were talking about with the outfalls of installing something to prevent stuff going back up in there. Have you looked at that anymore?
Yeah, so I've talked to the vendor with the little flapper check valve there. A lot of the places that we have, it's so low anyway that if the tide comes up and pushes back in the pipe, it's going to come up over the road. So we may block the pipe and cause stormwater to back up, but it's still, or cause the tide not to come in, but the tide is still going to cross the road and cause flooding. So we haven't found a location yet that the vendor feels would be a good fit for that, just because of the low spots in Lynn Haven.
Other questions? No? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, for your report. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, even though I'm not your normally scheduled attorney, I do have a few things to report. Unfortunately, the big one is Ordinance 1117. Looking at that yesterday late afternoon, originally this came to you in your first October meeting, and it was tabled without a definite time to come back to you. It was revisited again at your second October meeting with the advice that it would have to go to the planning board. By the time it got to the planning board, it was re-advertised, but it had to run for 10 days, and it ran for 9. There's been a lot of delays all over the world, so this is one of those things where I would advise you to just re-advertise this public hearing and finally adopt this at your December meeting. And obviously, it's a small delay, but it affects the validity of the ordinance, so I would recommend that this be pulled off the agenda today.
Okay.
And then I would like to address one of the public comments about requiring a background check for candidates. If the commission wanted to pursue that, and that would require a charter amendment, it would also require us to analyze whether that qualification requirement will be preempted by statute. The election code is completely reserved to the state. The state has given municipalities very, very limited areas which we can regulate elections. So assuming that commission wanted to move that forward, I would advise you to have us look at that first so you don't spin your wheels too much. Regarding the comment on yielding time and the kind of the push and pull between Robert's rules and your own rules of procedure, your own rules of procedure will always control over Robert's rules. Robert's rules is a backstop when you do not have a rule. So to clarify that question as to whether you can set your own rules that may conflict with Robert's rules, you certainly can. Regarding Mr. Jones' request to have his application reviewed under the current stormwater regulations, I did speak with Mr. Jones a little bit, and it appears he has spent substantial amounts and relied upon the current code, and so his application would be deemed timely for the purpose of being analyzed under the current code. And let's see. Oh, and Commissioner Tender, respectfully, I will disagree regarding your comment that we quoted you $500 a month. You know, I was the person who gave that presentation, and so I remember clearly you asking me how much the fees would cost each month, and I said, we only work depending on how much you ask us to do. And, you know, our rates were fairly set forth, so we only work as much as you want us to do, and I can tell you, even though I don't regularly do all of your work, I know that you guys are a very growing city. You have 5 land use ordinances on one agenda. That's a pretty good indication that you have a lot of things going on, which indicates a lot of legal work. So I just wanted to clarify that one piece. We never, ever said this would be a $500 a month job. And that's all.
Thank you. This time we will, in regards to the ordinance number 1117, would that be, if we wanted to, let's take that off the agenda, we'll just address that once we get to that agenda item?
So, I'm sorry, could you say that one more?
In regards to ordinance 1117, when you identified the public notice and us recommending that we do that in the December meeting?
Yes, sir.
Would we just address that once we got to that agenda item, or we need to address that now?
Yeah, you can, I mean, if you want to, when you get to it, you can just probably move to continue it, and that would probably be the easiest way to do it.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, can I just ask a question on that?
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that you, sir, Pat, are aware of why they're wanting to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Why they're wanting to, I would like you.
It's the advertising. I didn't know it till right now.
Yeah.
Just the way.
So
How about you? When did you know? Did you know?
I was told when I got here, just
Yeah.
like the others. My question about it is, will we actually get the advertising done on time and all this other hoopla that has to be done so that we're legal to vote on this in December? Or based on what you're doing, do we have to go back to a first reading again and all that?
We're not, no, there's no more changes being made. There's no more additional readings being made. The only thing that was required to happen was the public hearing for this ordinance had to be advertised in the paper for 10 days. It was advertised for 9. But that is a statutory requirement for the validity of the ordinance. And so as your attorney, I have to advise you that that is a chink in the armor that you need to fix.
So is it possible that if we choose to, we could go ahead and vote on it anyway? Well, I mean, I realize you're recommending we don't, but...
Well, if you go ahead and adopt the ordinance, you would have adopted the ordinance in violation of the Florida statutes. And so therefore, the ordinance itself would be invalid against anyone who may come later and want to develop property in violation of that ordinance. If you were to try to enforce that ordinance, that person would simply challenge the validity of the ordinance by virtue of the fact that you did not follow the statute. And that person would be, I would give you the legal opinion, that person would be likely to succeed.
I'm disappointed that we didn't catch this already. What's that?
Yeah. Now, is this because it went back to the planning board and the time between the planning board and the advertisement?
Right. The advertisement wasn't sent to the paper until after the planning board had approved it. And there's a substantial delay. I mean, as someone who represents the city and other cities, the amount of time and effort and stress that goes into from the time that you send the ad to the paper to the time that the paper publishes the ad varies between 3 to 7 days, depending on how busy they are. All the advertising has moved to Pensacola. It's a lot of work, but.
Is it, I don't know how you guys feel about this, and we can wait until we get to the agenda item if you want, but is it possible to have a special meeting just on this so we can get this voted in and get it done and over with?
Yes, sir. Once you get that 10 days, if you set a time that is.
Because it's already advertised, right?
Well, no, I mean, it hasn't been advertised because again, the hearing has to be for the specific date when you're going to have the meeting. So the public hearing on this meeting was advertised appropriately, but it only ran for 9 days. So now we would have to re-advertise for the next meeting, either a special meeting or your next regular meeting, at which you will have a public hearing on this item to adopt it. So you could set a meeting sooner than your first December meeting if you wanted to.
Yeah.
As long as we had enough time to run the ad for 10 days. So I would give it 2 weeks. If you want to have a meeting 2 weeks from today, we could probably get that done.
And then that runs into...
I'll have to defer to Amanda, who handles the advertisements, to make sure that's a good timeline. But
And then that runs into Thanksgiving, so people that would come to that may not be here for that. So,
Can the ad run over the weekend?
Yes, ma'am.
So it just runs 10 straight days and that counts?
10 straight days from day 1 to day 10 is how you count.
Of course, by the time, what he's saying is by the time we get to those 2 weeks, and then you run into Thanksgiving, and then by then, it's almost our next meeting. I mean, we'd have a meeting 5 days in advance of our regular meeting, you know. In other words, it's kind of inconsequential, 5 days.
It's on the 14th.
I think we should get the ad run real quick, like start tomorrow. I mean, at least make sure we have it done before the next meeting.
Yeah, if you,
Well, you got to take the holiday season, the Thursday through Sunday out. I mean, that's...
We can't hear you guys.
What about the last day of the month, 11/30? It's the week after Thanksgiving. It's still 2 weeks before the next meeting.
I'm good. I just,
all right,
we
so
need to get this done.
we'll discuss it once we get to that agenda item. Any more questions for the attorney?
No.
All right. Thank you, City Attorney. At this time, we're looking at consent agenda. These are the minutes from October 26, 2021. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed. Agenda item number 9, discussion and possible approval of change order number 7 of task order number 1-2018-FRS-Hurricane Michael-Lynn Haven by City Consultant Tetra Tech Incorporated.
This is just part of the task orders, part of their original agreement to help finish out much of the Hurricane Michael consultation, working with FEMA. And of course, this money is reimbursable through Category Z.
All right. Any discussion from the commission on this?
Nope.
Is there a motion for this?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion from the public? All right, City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 10, approval to accept the highest bidder for commercial lease of 10-acre property at 925 Hatcher Drive. Mr. Jenke?
Good morning. The city staff received inquiries from 2 business owners regarding this property that is owned by the city in the Sandhills. After checking with other departments to see if there's a need for the city to use this property in the near future or even long term, we determined that it could be leased to a third party. We advertised this bid opportunities to give everybody an equal opportunity to submit a bid. We received 1 bid from ASC Ventures in the amount of $2,651 per month for leasing this property. So at this point, it would be up to the City Commission if you were to accept this offer. This would be a 5-year lease with an option to renew it for another 5 years thereafter. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jenke? I know a few questions were asked Friday.
I just have one. You said there were originally 2 folks interested?
Yes, that's correct.
Who was the other one?
I think the gentleman's name was Eddie Barentine, and I guess he decided not to submit an offer.
Okay.
Any additional questions for Mr. Jenke? All right, any further discussion from the commission? Is there a motion to approve to accept the highest bidder for this commercial lease?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion from the public? All right, City Manager, you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Final reading of ordinance number 1117, amending section 4-02-01 of the Unified Land Development Code, minimum lot area in the 1911 historic plat overlay district. Usually city manager would read this ordinance by title only, but at this time we'll have commission discussion as to when we would like to bring this back to the public for vote.
No, I'll save my part for discussion then. I mean, I'll go along with what the overall group and consensus is. I just, for me personally, I mean, I don't know what big difference it would make for us to rush for 7 days before, or 14 days before our next meeting. But again, if we want to get together and y'all decide to do this, hey, you know, I'm fine with that too. But again, I just don't see a mad rush, especially here in the holiday season, for them to go buy these parcels and start building homes, putting stuff up on them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 7 days, 8 days will make a difference. I just don't think so. But that's my 2 cents. So put that out there on the table.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
Mayor, could I make a comment?
Yes.
One thing that may ease your minds a little bit. Generally speaking, if you don't have a application pending already, if there's not, and since you have already had first reading on this and it has been approved by the planning board, there's what's called the pending ordinance doctrine, where staff would have to analyze any incoming application based on the ordinance that is pending. So because you have already approved first reading and because the planning board has approved it, you could direct staff to analyze any applications that are submitted during dependency of this ordinance under the ordinance itself. And of course, if the ordinance fails, then they would reanalyze the application, but that gives you a little bit of breathing room on the adoption of this ordinance.
So you're putting that in layman's terms. You're saying we could follow the ordinance, even though the ordinance has not yet been passed. It's still, in essence, in effect.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If you change that ordinance, do we have to go back to a first reading?
If we make substantial changes to the ordinance, and when you hear it again, no, I mean, we can't make changes to the ordinance. You direct us to make ordinance changes. Since we don't have any direction to make substantial changes to the ordinance, it would not reset the clock. Now, if you hear this again at your December meeting and you say, wait a minute, I don't like any of this, I want to change this, then it essentially becomes a brand new ordinance because it's not what the public has heard already.
Okay.
That's up to this body, not me.
Yes.
Can I just make a comment with regard to what the attorney said about how you could say, because the first reading had happened already, that we could follow that ordinance, that there have been approvals in between the first reading already. You have signed on, because this has been going on for such a long time, you have signed off on minor subdivisions. So I don't know if that would be appropriate because we've already allowed some to then not allow people.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's why I feel like we need to nail this and set something here. Let's stop it all or do something. Because all we're doing is allowing those who don't want the ordinance. And I blame you for this one because I got on board with Commissioner Perno when he brought it up to protect the old plat. And but I feel like all we're doing is just spinning around and opening the doors and giving everybody, people buy property at Christmas time. And they buy it all year long. I just feel like there has to be some way to stop it because we just keep doing this every meeting.
So is there someone that wants to make a motion as to whether or not we're going to meet prior to the next commission meeting or we're going to wait till the next commission meeting? So that's what we need to determine at this moment.
And Mayor, can I just make a suggestion? If there is a motion to have a special meeting, can I make the suggestion that it be that December 1st? That makes sure that we get it or advertised and, everything is in place, if you decide to do that.
Do we have the legal option to stop permitting now? To stop people from continuing?
I think what he said was we have the legal option to direct the staff to take this ordinance into consideration on every application until the ordinance is brought to vote.
No. Yeah, and so I can get with staff and figure out exactly what we have pending, and kind of work with that. But we can, to the extent that we can, we could limit applications to the new ordinance until you can hear it again.
So it'll just be applications I receive from today after this on?
Yeah, if you direct that so. Now, I can't say that every single one of them will, because every single application is different, and we have to take a look at, kind of look at what the applicant has done so far in order to apply that, but there is legal precedent to allow you to do that.
I would definitely like to see the activity of what's happened since the first time you brought this up. Is that possible to do as a public request or whatever?
And I think in listening to Attorney Cole is that we can't vote on it today. So whether we vote on it on December 1st or December 14th, we still may need to follow the advice of saying, if that's what we want to do, is to tell staff or direct staff to postpone it. So I think if we're hearing him, that's really the only option we do have at this moment. Whether we vote on the 1st or the 14th, we're still going to have to, if we're wanting to have staff to analyze applications with that, because we can't vote on this today and be in violation of Florida statute. So whether it's the 1st or the 14th, we're still going to have to say, hey, staff, can you keep this in consideration as you're analyzing these development orders? So it's not, we'll have to do it either way.
I move that we meet on the 1st of December.
Second.
All right, motion second. Public commentary.
My only question is very simple. Was it advertised anywhere for 10 days? Was it advertised on your website? Was it advertised on your windows? Was it?
It's been publicly stated for more than 10 days that it would be heard at this meeting, yes.
Okay, so you're saying because it wasn't advertised in the newspaper for 10 days, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, my understanding is as long as it was publicly advertised, and if it was advertised on your website, that's public advertising. If it was advertised in your windows, that's public advertising. We dealt with this over in Gulf County because we have a once-a-week paper. So if you put it on your website and there are other forms of public advertisement, it doesn't necessarily say it has to be in your local newspaper. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Additional commentary, Mr. Johnny.
And Johnny Bashir's 811 Louisiana Avenue. I would think that if you're going to delay voting, you can't vote on it today. But the Planning Commission met 2 weeks ago and unanimously approved it from the Planning Board. I would think you would want to go back and direct your city people to say, use that date as the date from there forward to apply this retroactively, basically, if you can. That way you're covered back to where the Planning Board said, yeah, this looks good, this is what we want. And I think that's where the commission would probably be approving today. If they were going to approve it, that's what you would look at. So it makes sense to me to just go back and say that's the date to apply this ordinance from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Amanda, have you had any applications since the planning board meeting?
Yes, I believe there's one that, I don't know if you signed it. I know there was one yesterday or the end of last week that was put on the desk. I don't know if you signed it, Mayor.
Signed it this morning.
Okay, and there was a lady who came to us on Friday afternoon who hadn't yet done her survey or anything. And so we told her that it was probably going to be best to hold off and see what happens at this meeting before she started spending money on surveyors and what have you. But that's it. The agenda for the planning commission meeting that had this on the agenda was public notice 10 days prior, and it says may go to the city commission, but I don't know if that stands. It just wasn't public notice as an individual public
Hearing.
because the city attorney didn't feel that because the title had changed that it needed to be. Well, as it turned out, I went ahead and sent it to the paper anyway, but because I knew it would be over 7 days, but apparently it has to be 10 days, so me doing that didn't help him.
All right, thank you.
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. First of all, I just want to say regarding the ordinance, I want to give Pat Perno a lot of credit for bringing this to everyone's attention in the first place. So I think this is something that really needs to happen. It's just been, it seems like it's been, as you guys said, it's been dragging on and on. Go ahead and table it today. In my personal opinion, I don't want there to be any wiggle room for anybody once, hopefully you guys pass this, there to be no question that this is legal and that this is correct. Because this has been going on for so long, the last thing we want to do is get dragged into more. I do have a question. Whose responsibility is it? I know Amanda said she published it too, or she sent it in. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that this goes in the proper time? Is it the attorney? Okay. Okay. And like I said, when this does come up, I think that's wonderful to go ahead and have a special meeting early. I hate that you guys would have to put your holidays to the side for any reason, but I think it's important that we go ahead, get this in the paper, get this advertised in the proper amount of time. And when this does come up for a vote, I hope you all do pass this. I think it's very important for this, the nature of the city. I know that someone from CPAR came and spoke about the building and so forth, but keep in mind that why people moved to Lynn Haven. Okay, we had the trunk or treat. Look at all the people who came. You know why people come here? Because they like the family friendliness. They like the small town atmosphere. They love the history of the small, our little historic area of the town. Keep that in mind when you pass this. I think it's so important to preserve that. And I think everybody is, from my read of everything, everybody's on board with that. So I hope that you all consider that when it comes. And I will come to that meeting whenever it's held, December 1st, I think you said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I knew this was going to happen. This is a continuation of kicking it down the road again. And it's done because of what the underlying circumstances here is. This is not rocket science. Rocket science has been reduced down to the commercial level. There are now commercial people flying people into space. And that's who's running this show. We do not benefit in the first 2-3 years of this not going back, but staying with the old process. You've got a decision to make here, and you can make it right now. Young lady there is correct. I was at the Planning Commission. It was publicized. This exact thing was publicized then. It's been publicized all over the place. Everybody knows about it. I think that's ample notification to everybody. You should be able to decide that right now. If not, I would like you to repeat your motion as Robert's Rules states, because we can't hear your motion back there. We don't understand your motion because you dribble it with things that are not dealing with the issue. The issue here is the damage is done. It will continue to be done if you persist at allowing him to do it into December and into 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Gray.
It's not often I like to agree with an attorney, but if you look at the Florida statute for procedures for adoption of ordinances and resolutions, it specifically states that it has to be noticed once in a newspaper of general circulation in the municipality, except for a specific exception, which doesn't apply in this case because the municipality is the one changing the ordinance. So all the talk about the doors online, the Florida statute's out of date. It uses newspaper in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. But that's what the statute is. It says in the newspaper. So we got to stick with that. I hate that we have to prolong this, but if we do it on the 1st, that's less days that we have to prolong it and just get the dang thing done because we've got a lot of other stuff to do.
Ms. Walker.
I second what my husband just said. We are personally being affected by this 2 houses on what should have been a 1-house lot. You put the first reading back at your August 24th meeting. That was the first reading of this ordinance, almost 3 months ago, and it appears that you keep putting it off. My opinion, my gut feeling, the reason that you're putting it off is that you're allowing the developers and construction people to get in there and get the proper paperwork in order to go back to, or not allow going back to 2 houses on the corner lots. If you take a look, as I have, at the end of a campaign, the candidates fill out all of the paperwork according to their donations and who donated to them, and you can see a whole tally of that. One of the commissioners sitting before me, Commissioner Mayor, has 7 construction companies on their contribution list. And each of these construction companies has donated $1,000. That's $7,000 to one person for their campaign. $7,000. I think Commissioner Tinda only received a little over $2,000 in her donations, and she's still sitting here. So I'm assuming that she does not have, or the construction people do not have her in her pocket. But there's somebody up here, I'm assuming, that wants to continue delaying this so that their construction people friends or donors can finish doing their paperwork. So I think at this time that you need to go back to the 1911 plots where it was a happier, nicer community than it is today.
Thank you. Mr. Schultz. You'll come in. Hold on, Mr. Schultz. Yeah.
City Manager, Mayor, Commission, Counselor. I just have one question. Does it even make a difference to you guys what we say?
Yes.
Does it, or are you allowed to answer?
Just answer, sir.
It does. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any additional public commentary? This time, City Manager, if you call the vote.
No one made a motion.
Oh, you haven't made a motion yet?
So, Mike, I'd like to ask a question. Sure. So, what we're talking about before publicizing that.
Hold on. I thought she made a motion. Yeah, and he seconded it, so we do have a motion on the table. Yeah, that's all yeah. So but go ahead and ask your question, but there is a motion on the floor.
Does it have to be, when they say publicize, it has to be in the paper? Does that make us legal?
Yes.
So the statute, you read about the statute?
Exactly the statute that requires it. There's no ambiguity there.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Before we vote, Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Commissioner Tender, your motion was for December 1st. I second it.
I agree.
I would like to make sure that we also use the pending and direct our staff to consider the ordinance between now and December 1st.
What time would you like to have the meeting?
In the morning.
Sorry?
In the morning. I mean, if we're going to, let's get this thing knocked out. Let's get it done.
Wednesday.
8 a.m.
I'm assuming we're going to show up and vote and be done in like 3 minutes. So.
I need it in the ad, the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Commissioner Tender, we need to amend the motion with,
We'll meet at 9 a.m. on December 1st. Open to the public. One vote.
Thank you. Public hearing for final reading of Ordinance 11717. Thank you.
Thanks.
so Commissioner Tender, if you could repeat your motion so that we have clarity for our clerk recording the minutes as to what we're making the motion on. And if you would like to insert what Commissioner Perno suggested in regard to directing staff, you can do that as well.
Okay, I make the motion that we meet on this issue December 1st, 9 o'clock here. I guess here, it's okay. And I also would like for the commission to ask the staff, yeah, to keep track of who's applying and to consider the fact that this is going to happen December 1st.
December 1st is a Wednesday.
Okay.
Seniors meet here on Wednesday.
I'll make it work.
Yeah, it's only going to take a minute.
All right, thank you. So her motion has been motion with an amendment. Second. All right, this time, any discussion from the public? No discussion. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed. Agenda item number 12, final reading of ordinance number 1120, amending provisions of chapter 46 of the Code of Ordinances relating to peddlers and solicitors. And at this time, our city manager will read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 46, Peddlers and Solicitors of the city's Code of Ordinances, amending definitions, amending exemptions, amending permit requirements, amending times for peddling and soliciting, providing for civil and criminal enforcement, repealing provisions of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, and reciting an effective date.
Thank you. Anything from you, City Attorney?
No, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance takes your existing peddler ordinance. It expands the definition. I think the two biggest things for the public to know would be it makes it to where there can't be any solicitation or peddling after dark or 7 p.m. And it also provides for enforcement for both criminal and civil penalties under your code enforcement system.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion from the commission?
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion second. Discussion from the public? No discussion. City Manager, you call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 13, first reading of ordinance number 1121, amending section 0.06.03 of the Unifying Land Development Code, stormwater standards related to flood control facilities. This is the first reading only, so there's no action required, but City Manager, if you would read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 6.06.03, stormwater standards of the City of Lynn Haven Unified Land Development Code related to flood control facilities, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Agenda item number 14, first reading of ordinance number 1122, comprehensive plan text amendment, property rights element, ESR-21-01, first reading only, so there's no action required. City Manager, will please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, adopting the property rights elements into the City of Lynn Haven Comprehensive Plan, providing for purpose and intent, providing for a title, providing for severability, providing for a copy of file, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Agenda item number 15, first reading of ordinance number 1123, the ROW abandonment request, Kevin Waterberger, agent for Thelma C. Osborne, first reading only, so there's no action required. However, City Manager, if you would please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, providing for the vacation and abandonment of a portion of the Railroad Avenue right-of-way adjacent to lots 11 and 12, Block 257, Plat 1, Number 1 of Lynn Haven, which lies between the city limits, repealing all ordinances that conflict and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any veterans that are here today? If you would please stand. Any veterans? Veterans, please stand. Commissioner, please stand. All right. Want to say, let's give them an applause. Want to say thank you. Thank you for your service to our country and our community. Hope you have a happy Veterans Day. Meeting adjourned.